Alex, you're holding the camera as I talk, but I was just on a phone call with a friend of mine who runs a local monthly paper he does, which is a lot of commentary about local issues, but he was asking about the handling of government and business and so forth. I came from a company, a business that I was involved with, a design company. Became a design company because I turned it into that. I worked for it for a while, and I decided to go back to teaching, or to go to teaching, and I didn't want to be part of the company eventually. But what happened was, I discovered that it was my father's company. It was going in the hole financially. I had relatives who were basically draining it and killing it. And my father was in Florida instead of involved, didn't know what was going on. I was still in Illinois at the time. And it was in Peoria, Illinois. And the company was a contracting company, so we did a lot of work. We worked for Caterpillar, and it specialized in church design work. And as a specialty, we decorated old churches, brought them back to traditional looks, and some of them we modernized. And the company had a good reputation. We made good money doing that. That was what I kind of specialized in. The commercial side of the corporation I was not so involved in. When I discovered the company was sinking fast, I'd already decided to start to teach since I'd gotten 2 master's degrees. I wanted to make use of that. I loved teaching. I loved working with art that way, freely with students and so forth. Plus I loved design work, and I did that for the company. I designed special churches, which I did in my time. I did a couple of cathedrals and about 300 other churches, mostly Catholic churches, but I did Methodists and other denominations, including Greek Orthodox and a synagogue or two. Along the way, I did design work for those. But when the company was getting bogged down with debt and non-payment of debt and so forth, my father had abandoned the company and lived in Florida, in Fort Lauderdale, but expected things to keep going on the way they were. I finally forced him to make a decision about giving it up, and I took it over. I discovered this is in the 70s, long ago. I'm an old guy. I took it out of debt after about 2.5 years. That was not a simple matter, and I'll just have to turn that sound off, sorry about that, and let that go off to call that person back, sorry about that. Nonetheless, was not an easy thing. Here I'm teaching full-time at a local college, a large local college, Illinois Central in East Peoria, Illinois, and I was teaching art and drawing and so forth, plus doing the design work for the company. Discovering its economic mess, and my father finally pulling away and leaving me to run it, I got rid of a few people, mostly relatives, found out who was not doing the job, and replaced them or eliminated them, one of the two. Not that many, but a few. A few key people were a problem. We were, in the 70s, we were probably debt at that time. That we had this kind of small corporation, but it was a corporation. It was on Dun & Bradstreet. It had a rating. At one time it had a rating of 1 or 2, and that's a pretty good bracket to be in for Dun & Bradstreet. That's the corporation rating that made other businesses look at you seriously and as being trustworthy. You paid your bills. That's what happens with that rating. Anyway, so to get the trust back of these suppliers, I had to do a lot of work, and I had to get rid of the problems and reestablish trust. And management is what that's about. And when I watch the management of our country by a man who, at the age of 8, was a $250 million inheritor of money, never has understood what money really is at a lower level. So he never had to really work for it. He's always been in the power position. I was in the position of having to work and work my way up, and at the same time learn how to deal with money at a larger level. Not a $1 billion level, not more than a couple millions of dollars, but at a level as much smaller. But I was not in New York, where costs are greater and contracts are greater, right as well. But when I watch what's going on, and it took me 2.5 years to straighten this company out, reestablish local trust. I worked on strikes, settling strikes with labor, people like that, worker walkouts, stuff like that. I've done that. I did a lot of things, and in the space of 2.5 years, turned the debt around of that company to breaking even and making money. And I stayed 15 years with that company. But I watched this president today. He's been in the job for 3 years. He's had between 500 and 800 billions of dollars for the military. Now, our military has always been designed to go to war, a major war, so that they could, if they won the war, they could go in and take over the country that they were going after, putting them out of commission, but then putting back in commission under new terms. Meaning you have to have medical, you have to have structural, you have to have infrastructure, all the things that say you've won that battle. So the supplies for our military have to be large enough to run another country, and if necessary, run this country at the same time. We did the SARS epidemic under Obama and Ebola under Obama, and those were gotten rid of. They came from the same place that this COVID number 19 does. We had Kelly Conway saying, well, it's the 19th infection or whatever, virus. No, it's the COVID-19 it happened in 2019. It wasn't the 19th, it's not the only one in 2019. Now this is a major spokesman under Trump, and he leaves her in her job. And she says stupid stuff like that. Totally frigging ignorant. And we have to listen to this so-called leadership with that kind of support at the leadership level. This is ridiculous. He's had 3 years to know if the supply for medical was sufficient for the military, and he has sat on this thing knowing or not knowing, but it turns out, now we find out, he sold key things relative to this thing, guess where? To Russia, of all things. And the conference I had on the phone just a moment ago was with someone who says, so we got to buy it back from Putin? We got to buy back the things we need now from Putin, the testing devices, all of the things that we need. He's selling it off to someone else out of our medical stockpile. This is not management. This is mismanagement. It's not about personality. I'm a fiscal conservative in the real sense. I want the country run fiscally strong and serious. And I don't see a serious leader. I see a kid who's in a job looking like he's 70 years old, but he's fucking 15. And I'm sorry, that's what I think we've got here. We've got a 15-year-old who doesn't know it but from his appetite. And I think that's the problem we got, folks. That's it. You want to vote for that sort of thing? That's up to you. But that's what we're stuck with. And I was in the Army long enough to know, and I helped get rid of officers in the Army. I did that by going after the investigative general to get rid of a general down at Fort Leonard when I was in the military. So I know a little bit about this ball game, but I'm not the ultimate answer. Plus, I have a good friend, a young friend, who's a major sergeant in the military today, who I've talked to. I won't let his name out right now, but I've known him since he was 4 years old, so I've known this guy. And he's at the top. He's in Korea right now, running an entire division under a general. Sergeant majors do that. When you watch a general commanding a large group of soldiers, a sergeant major is telling them what to do. So this guy does that all the time. His family lives right here in Sarasota. So I know a little bit, I have a little bit of background, a varied background, but I know when somebody knows what they're doing in a job that they're in, or if they know what or don't know what they're doing. Fortunately, Mr. Trump has said to the governors, you run it if you go together as a group. He's finally backing away from telling everybody what to do, like he knows what he's doing. Thank God for that. So that's the only blessing coming out of this at this moment. Who knows what's going to happen tomorrow? He's like a chameleon. He changes colors every day. His hair color is red one day and pink the next. I mean, this is the problem. We've got a serious leadership deficit, and it's not being corrected. And the party that supports this, unfortunately, is the party of Lincoln. And that is the real sad thing. I was always a Republican, considered myself a Lincoln Republican, therefore a thinking Republican. And we've lost that since Ronald Reagan came in, and we've been in this debt path ever since Reagan. Government's the problem, not the solution. And that means get rid of government. And by golly, the Republicans are good at that. They know how to get rid of government, and therefore get rid of the security of the people. That's how you do it. You fire the leaders so you get cooperation and loyalty over professional behavior. And when you don't have professional behavior, you don't have government. Sorry, that's my rant. And I want to thank you for listening. If you did, if you had the patience to listen, I really want to thank you for that. Seriously, we have a very important time at hand, and we have to act as a people together, democratically supporting each other and our viewpoints. And we want to retain the Bill of Rights and all the things therein. All those things that we say we value, we have to go work hard to maintain, and we want the leadership that honors all of that. And you are the people, of the people, and by the people, and for the people. I mean the people. I don't mean of the rich, by the rich, and for the rich. I mean of you, of me, and of everyone. Thank you very much.